Is that good? Hi, this is What You're Packing, a general interest travel show where you and I get to have a little bit of fun together, be a bit silly. And today we're going to cure your fear of flying. So, some of you might not know what ASMR is. It's kind of just like being given the shivers, but in a good way. And some people get it from soft-spoken voices, certain sounds, and stuff like that. So, keep an open mind. We're going to start with some breathing exercises, and then I'm going to talk you through some articles that I found about fear of flying and stuff like that. And then the audio for this video is going to be downloadable in the description box below. So if you want to take it on a flight with you, you can do that. And I'll also include links to all the articles that I mention as well, so you can read those yourself if you fancy it. Okay, let's get cracking on what you're packing. So, let's start with that breathing exercise. When you're feeling very anxious, or when you've even already become panicked, stilling your breathing and getting a bit of control over it can help you calm down. It feels good, you know? You'd be surprised how often we take super shallow breaths, let alone when we're like, in the throes of fear. So what you're going to do is, if you're sitting in your airplane seat already, maybe you can close your eyes, and we're going to breathe in for a count of 4, and then breathe out for a count of 4. Easy peasy. That was just a practice breath. I wasn't ready yet. So, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just as strange for you as it is for me. I'm usually quite a big, loud person, so bringing it down to this level feels a bit funny, but bear with me. 1, 2, 3. In 1, 2, 3, 4, and out 1, 2, 3, 4, and in 1, 2, 3, 4, and out 1, 2, 3, 4, and in again 1, 2, 3, 4. And out again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you're anything like me, doing that little 4 in, 4 out, you can almoys kind of feel a little bit more oxygenated, right? It gives me a little bit of a head rush. Maybe I just don't breathe enough. Who knows? If it's just me. Well, what we'll move on to now is we'll take a look at a couple of articles about flying anxiety, and you can just listen along. It's going to be a bit freeform. Don't know these off by heart, so I've got my little trusty computer in front of me to help me read them. So let's dive in, shall we? So Zoe, who wrote this article, has a fear of flying, and she attended a BA course which you can take. I think it's called the Flying with Confidence course. And essentially, they take you through some different techniques about, settling into flying so that you don't feel so afraid of it. They show you a couple of some information about how the plane works. You get to talk to pilots and stuff like that. So it's really good at sort of making sure you're clued in on how safe the whole process is. And then at the end of the day, they take you for a flight, with everyone else who is on that course, that Flying with Confidence course. So Zoe says that actually most people completed the full day, including the flight. And there was quite a few people signed on to that course. And so I won't go through all of them, but the article says that she's got 10 top takeaways. And just talk about a couple of them. So one of them, when she talks about ways to confront your fear of flying, is to fully trust the pilots. So Zoe goes on to say, it can be hard to understand how anyone enjoys flying when fear takes over, but pilots really do have a passion for their jobs and have gone through a rigorous selection process and a 2-year training program to get where they are. It is the most highly regulated profession in the world. Pilots are retested and retrained every 6 months over their entire career. So if you're in a plane and you're worried, something that might help maybe is to think to yourself, there is maybe no better person in the world to be in control of that plane right now. You are in the safest possible hands. Oh, and look, Zoe's also got concentrate on your breathing. It's impossible to panic when you can control your breathing. If you feel yourself getting anxious even before you take off, inhale for 4 seconds and exhale for 4 seconds. This Zoe, she knows what she's talking about. She must have learned it from an expert. Like me. Oh. Combine this with muscle contraction. Clenching your buttocks while exhaling is most effective. So it overpowers the nervous signals running up and down your spinal cord, helping you to remain calm. She says this may sound odd, but it really works. Well, Zoe, you're right. That does sound odd. But I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And next time I do my little 4x4 breathing, if I'm ever panicked, I'll also clench. What you'll find at the bottom of Zoe's article is a link to the British Airways Flying with Confidence course. So you can book that yourself. I know if you're on the plane already, maybe you can think about booking it before your next flight. But hopefully, some of these techniques might help. Have the flight attendants come with a trolley yet? If they come along with that trolley, get us a cup of tea, please. I'm parched. Reading all these articles is hard work. Which reminds me, you probably shouldn't drink coffee on an aeroplane if you have a fear of flying or it makes you severely anxious, because caffeine can actually heighten anxiety, makes you all tense, gets you all worried. And you don't need that right now. We're chilling out. Maybe get yourself a Kit Kat, because you deserve a break. No more bad sweet jokes, I promise. Unless they've written them, because I can't control that. That's not my fault. This article is written by Katia Moskvich for BBC Future. If you'd like to read more of this article, like the others, it's going to be in the description of this video. So this article on BBC Future by Katia Moskvich is called how to beat the fear of flying. And she starts off by saying, "For many, flying is a necessary evil, but for some it can be torture. How can people overcome the very real fears of taking to the air?" Now, this article goes on to discuss the statistics and the evidence for how much safer flying is than modes of transport you might use every day. As we discussed in the last article, you are in the safest possible hands in that plane. And what this article describes is how many more times safer you are in a plane than you might be, say, on the road. Now, obviously, because we're exposed to road travel every day, we're not worried about that risk. You know, we understand the risk, but it doesn't worry us. And if you can think about it that way, you can understand there's a risk, but you can put that risk down and understand that there are bigger risks, much bigger, that you have a strong control over. That might help. Because flying in a plane is many times safer than driving in a car, which you might do every day, which you might have done every day since you were 17 without ever having any problems at all. The article then goes on to analyze whether your fear of flying might be a result of some other existing condition, of maybe anxiety or claustrophobia or something like that. And then the easiest way for you to deal with your flying anxiety is to address those underlying problems first. Now, if you think to yourself, well, I don't have a big problem with anxiety, and enclosed spaces don't really bother me too much, then maybe just sit with that thought for a moment and think, if it's not that, where does it come from? What is it about this experience that's worrying me? Because then once you've boiled it down, you can get a better objective grip over why those things might be, and if those things are logical. A fear of flying isn't silly, and it's irrational only in the scientific sense, okay? If you're afraid of flying, that's a real thing, and it's not silly of you. You shouldn't let people make you feel bad about it. But you can also think about it objectively, and think to yourself, maybe this doesn't make sense. Maybe it's something I need to follow back to the source, find out why I'm so nervous. Can you hear that? I actually take this with me on flights because it helps me cut down on waste. See, you can just fill it up the other side of security. You have to empty it when you're going through security, because obviously it holds a bit more than 100 ml. But the minute you're the other side, fill it right up. Take it to any of the restaurants or anything that you buy food at. They'll fill it up for you. And then you don't have to pay €10 for a bottle of water on the flight. This is from a blog post on a website called Flight Deck Friend, and you will find a link to this blog post in the description of this video. Okay. See, this one I like. It's from a website called Flight Deck Friend. And basically all of the authors on this website have experience flying. They've all been professional pilots. In fact, in their own words, the team who have contributed to building the website have operated the Boeing 777, 747, 737, the Airbus 320, 330, Avro RJ, and the Embraer 170, 190, in the position of either management pilot, training captain, captain, and first officer. Now, I don't know about you, but in terms of brand, I only really recognise Boeing. I have heard of an Airbus, but I'm going to go on record and say I thought an Airbus was a model of Boeing. And I work for a travel company. And I know a 747, but I don't recognise the other numbers. So for all I know, the only model of airplane that exists could have been a Boeing Airbus 747. But now we know, don't we? So educational. Okay, anyway, let's open the article. This article directly addresses what happens if all of the engines fail while I'm in the aeroplane. If both the engines fail and the plane has no engine power whatsoever, that plane can still travel 60 miles by gliding and land successfully. You're not going to fall from the sky like a rock. Both engines on that plane can fail and you'll still be perfectly safe. Which is something to consider, because our mind loves to jump to disasters. It goes on to say that dual engine failure is almost totally unheard of. Doesn't happen. Which brings us to another article on the same website. Can a plane fly with only one engine? So in this scenario, not both engines have failed, just one. What happens? Well, nothing. Not for you anyway. Order yourself a cup of tea. A twin-engine aircraft can fly perfectly well on one engine. In fact, it can even continue the takeoff and then safely land with just one engine. Losing an engine in flight is not usually a particularly serious problem, and the pilots are given extensive training to deal with such a situation. So, as we heard before, these pilots are insanely well trained, and you could not be in safer hands. So, does flying make you nervous? And did this video help? Have you listened to it on the plane? Did you listen to it in advance? Yeah, let us know in the comments. I'll have a look. Leave me your stories so I can see if this was helpful. Because if it was, I'm well up for doing more of it. Yeah. Help people chill out, give them more comfortable flights. I've been Jake. This has been What You're Packing. and I'll see you next time.